Hello and welcome to another Learn Scratch tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can make a knife throwing game. Now the idea of this game is quite simple. All you've got to do is throw knives until they hit the tree. Every time you get 10 or more knives into the tree, then it resets it, but the game gets harder, as you can see, because it starts off with more knives. Keep going until you get it wrong and you hit another knife, and then it's game over. Okie dokie, let's get started. So create yourself a new Scratch project, and once you're in there, let's click create. There we go. And what we'll do is we'll get rid of Scratch, click on the backdrop. There's our backdrop, and we use the paint tool. We're going to convert to bitmap because we're not going to use a vector today for this one. And what we'll do is we'll choose the circular gradient, and we'll just do a gradient from one purple to another. That should be fine. You can choose whatever color you want. There you go. I'm going to do that for my backdrop. So there's my backdrop sorted. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create ourselves a start button. So we're going to choose a sprite for this, and I'm just going to use the start button here. Drag it to where I want it to be. I don't want that costume, so I'll delete it. I'm going to use the orange costume. You can use whatever you want. Click on the text, and let's change it to the font that you want. I'm going to use marker, and then I'm going to write start. There we go. Brilliant. There's my start. Make it a bit bigger. There we are. Perfect. Maybe a little bit too big. Make it slightly smaller. There we go, brilliant. So there's my start button. You can do whatever you want with yours. Going to click over here and rename it to start button, so we know exactly what it's for. There you go. And now what we do is we go into code. Now the start button's nice and easy. When the game starts, so when the green flag is clicked, we're going to show. And when this sprite is clicked, which is under events, I think, yeah, events, what we're going to do is we're going to hide it, hide that sprite, and we're going to do two broadcasts, two messages. Broadcasts are like invisible text messages that go to all of the sprites in your game, so that each sprite, when they hear that broadcast, they might do something. Not all of them have to do something, but some of them might. So the first thing I'm going to broadcast is start game, to let all the other sprites know that the game is going to start. And then we're going to broadcast start level. There we go. To let it know that we're going to start the first level of the game. So let's just click start. There you go, it appears. And if we click start, it disappears. And those are these broadcasts done. Good. Next thing we're going to do is let's create our spinning tree. So go back to the paint and click on circle, hold shift, but before we do that, what we'll do in our circle here is let's set the fill to whatever color you're going to use for your wood. I'm going to use that color, and then we'll do a bit of an outline. Let's go there, out there maybe for the outline. Hold shift and that will do a perfect circle. And there you go. So there's the first bit of tree. A little bit large, so we'll make it a bit smaller. That's probably about the right size tree. And if you look, there is the just zoom in, you can see there's a little like a target. You need to make sure that your circle is bang on in the center, lined up, so that it will spin. Otherwise, it will spin all wobbly. It won't look like it's spinning perfectly when we start to spin it in a minute. Good. So there's our circle. We'll copy and we'll paste it, and then we'll make another smaller circle inside, and then we'll do that a few times. So we've got a few circles inside. I'm just going to do 3. You can do as many as you like. Take your time and do a good job of it. I'm obviously, because of the tutorial, I'm going to go a little bit quicker. So there we go. There's our circle. I'm going to change the fill of that one. Maybe do it like that, slightly brighter or something. There we go. There you go. That's good. And we'll just move that over there. Now, at the moment, it looks a bit like a target, and it doesn't really look like a tree. And the reason being is what we need to do is we just need to zoom in. And then if we click using the reshape tool here, just click, make sure you don't click on these sticks when they appear, these guides, and click 3 dots, 1, 2, 3, and you can then manipulate it so it looks like little chunks are out of the wood, just like that. There you go, little notches out the side of the tree, and you can make it uneven. So let's do another one over here. Click. Oh, that's just moved over there. I don't know why it's done that. It's gone a bit crazy. Go back. There we are. We'll do that about there. I'll sort that out in a minute. Click, click. There we are. And again, just do little notches out of the wood. Doesn't matter if it's uneven here and there because it's a tree trunk. There we go. There's another one. And I'll just do one more here. Click, click. We'll click in between. Just move it there. There you go. Again, you take your time. I'm just doing a quick job for the tutorial. There you go. So there's my tree. Let's rename that to the tree. And let's start coding it. So let's move it where it needs to go, which is going to be about there at the top of our screen. And let's start to code the tree. Now the tree code is nice and simple. When we start the game, so when I receive start game, which is there, all we're going to do is we're going to spin it round. So we need to forever spin it. So forever, and then if we go to the motion, there we go, and we're just going to spin it, turn it 3 degrees clockwise. There you go. So now click start, and there it is, spinning away. Brilliant. So we've got our tree set up, and that's just about ready to rock. There's not a lot more that's going to happen with the tree. So let's move on to the next bit, which is the knives that are going to spin around the tree itself. Now that's nice and easy. All we need to do here is let's paint ourselves another sprite. We're going to leave it as vector on this one, and we're going to create a knife. So the outline of the knife is going to be black. So we'll leave that as black. The fill is going to be grey, so just take the saturation right down, and then just draw something nice and elongated like that. That's going to be the blade of the knife. And if we zoom in slightly, we're just going to use that reshape tool again, just to take the bits of the knives here to create the knife edges. Just use it. It'll take a little bit of practice to get your knife looking however you want it to look. So there we go. Move that down there. Oh, that's doing that there, is it? Like that. Just take a little bit of practice. You've got to play with these little guidelines here. There we go. That's my knife. I'll just make it a bit slimmer maybe. There you go. So there's the main bit of the knife. Then what I'll do is I'll draw another circle over the base here. And this time we'll just reshape it, but we'll just put 1, 2, 3, 4 around the edges there so that we can kind of make it a bit more square. Again, you take your time, just have a play with it until it works, and then move that down there. That's going to be the hilt of my knife, and we'll change the fill of that. Let's increase the saturation and move it over to the brown colour that I like. Yeah, that's a good brown colour, that's good. Excellent. What I will do is I'll just make that a bit shorter actually. Let's do a shorter knife. There we go. Yeah, that's a nice shorter knife. And we'll just add now the bit that goes across. Like that maybe. I'll do. It goes across the knife. Again, you could take a bit of time to do yours. And it should look a bit like that. Brilliant. Good. So there's our static knife, and let's call it the static knife because that's the one that we don't throw it as opposed to the spinning knife, which is great. So now we've got him set up. Let's move him to about here. He's a bit big, so let's click on select. Let's make him smaller and a bit thinner. Hey, that's about right, isn't it? That's perfect. Maybe a little bit long. Again, you can play with it as much as you like. There we are. And with this static knife, what we need to do here is make sure that, again, this target, we want it right on the tip of the blade. And the reason being is that the knife is going to spin around this central point of there, and that the pivot point for the whole thing is going to be the front of the blade there. There we go, done. And we'll just move him up there. Good. So how do we get our knife to spin around this piece of wood? Well, first of all, what we do is we say, okay, at the start of the game, what we're going to do is, in fact, let's do when I start as a clone. And the reason we're doing when I start as a clone is that on level 1 there's going to be 1 knife, but on level 2 there's going to be 2, 3, 4, etc. as you go through the levels. So rather than keep creating lots of knives and trying to keep track of which one's which, what we'll do is every time we want to create an extra knife, we'll just create a clone of the previous. So how does it work? Well, we say when I start as a clone, let's point upwards to start to make sure we're all okay. So point in direction 90 degrees, and we're going to show him, because as you'll see in a bit, well, actually the kind of the parent, the master knife, will be hidden, and he'll be hiding around here somewhere, but you won't see it. And we need to set the distance from the center of the circle here, which is about -50 away. If I put +50, it would start up there and it would spin all the wrong place. So we need to keep track of this knife's distance to the center of that circle there. So the way we do that is we create a variable, but it must be for this sprite only. And let's call it the distance. There we go, because that's going to be the distance from the center of the circle. So good. And so we create a variable. We've created it here. We can hide that in a bit. And then we set the distance to -50. So it's going to appear below -50. And then what we're going to do is we need to set what position he's going to be in this circle here. So 0 degrees is here, I think, or maybe there. And then as we come round, you're going to go all the way through to 360 degrees. So we need to do a similar thing, but this time we make another variable, again, just for this sprite, and it's going to be called its circle position, because it's going to be its position in the circle. There we go. Now, where is it going to appear? Well, because it's a static knife, I just want it to appear randomly somewhere on this circle, because let's say we've got 3 or 4 knives. If you're on level 3, then you get 3 knives. I want each knife to appear at a random point in that circle. So what we do here is we say set the circle position of this clone, and we can use random between 1 and 360. So it will pick at some point in that circle it's going to go. And finally, we'll make sure he goes right to the back. So go to the back layer. There we go. The reason being is that otherwise it's going to look like that in front of the piece of wood rather than behind the piece of wood. We want it to go to the back. Let's click back on the static knife. Good. Now what we need to do is we need to get it to spin. So the way we do that is we want it to spin forever. So we put it inside of a forever loop, and we need to set the X coordinate and the Y coordinate. So set the X to something and set the Y to something, and it's going to constantly change. Well, how is it going to change? Well, what's going to happen is the circle position is going to constantly change. So change the circle position by 3 each time round. And now if you click it here, if I click start, you will see as soon as it starts as a clone, let's just click on it, you can see that its circle position keeps changing. It actually keeps going up, but that doesn't matter. We're going to sort that out in a bit. So how are we going to find out? We've got the position that we want it to be in, and we've got its distance that we want it to rotate around this circle. How do we actually get it to start to spin around? Well, what we need to do is we need to use a bit of maths. So we go to the operators, and we have a plus. We had a plus in both of those, and oops, we add a multiplication on the left hand side of the plus, and we're going to do a bit of trigonometry, good old maths. So the trigonometry we're going to use is we're going to use some sine and some cosine. So for the x value, we're going to look at the sine, and what we're going to do is to say, okay, can you give me the sine of the circle position and multiply that by the distance, and then add on the coordinates of the x position of that piece of wood. So we go there. We come down where it says backdrop number of the stage, and we change it from stage to tree, and it will allow us to get the x position. There you go, just like that. And now we do the same thing for the next one, for the y position here. So we right click, duplicate, move it down and pop it there. But this time we change it from sine to cosine. We change the x position to the y position. So it looks pretty much the same, but it's set y instead of set x, cosine instead of sine, y instead of x. And now all we need to do is we just need to do two more things. First of all, we need to set the starting rotation angle to be the correct angle. So what we do here is we go, okay, point in direction, and do this just before you change your layer. Point in direction, and what we're going to do is we're going to set it to whatever direction. Point in direction, whatever direction it is set on the circle. So it's circle position direction. There we go. But we'll add on 90 degrees just to do the way that Scratch works. Otherwise, it makes it start here and spin around sideways. So what we'll do is we'll point in the direction of the circle position and add 90 degrees. And then what we'll do is each time round as we move, each time it ticks as we move, we will also turn 3 degrees. So now hopefully if we press start and click start, the tree starts to move. As soon as I click a start as clone, it then begins to spin round exactly as it needs to, exactly at the right place. Now, if you notice that's sort of almost not touching the tree there, so just change that -50 to maybe -45 or something. Let's try -45 instead. There you go. There you go, much better. So it actually looks like it's stuck in now. Brilliant. So there is your clone. He's ready to rock. So you've got one set up there. Now all we need to do is set it so that it actually does it with multiple clones rather than just one. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, we need to say, okay, at the start of the game, let's set the level to level 1. So at the start of the game here, we'll do this with the start button because it can control it. When we press start button there, as well as showing, not when we click it, when we click the start button, we're ready to go just before the start game and start level. Let's click on our variables. Now we're going to need another variable here, and this is for all sprites, and this is going to be the level. There we go. I'm going to create a variable called level. At the start of the game, we're going to set the level to 1. Brilliant. So starts on level 1. If you click start, and I click start there, you can see it's set to level 1. And what we can say here on our static knife is, okay, when start clicked, where's this? When start clicked, let's hide, because we want our main guy to hide. We only want clones to show. And then what we say is we say, okay, when I receive this, when it's starting the level, when I receive start level, what we're going to do is we're going to make a certain number, depending on what level it is, we're going to make a certain number of clones. If it's level 1, we make 1 clone. If it's level 3, we make 3. So we use the repeat, but instead of repeating 10 times, we repeat the level number of times. So this loop here, if it's level 1, this loop will only execute once. If it's level 5, this loop will execute 5 times. And all we need to say there is, okay, for how many levels we're on, let's just create a clone of myself. And that's fine. Good. So when we start the level, let's repeat and let's create loads of clones. Let's just see if that works. There you go. It's got one clone. Let's go back to the start button. Let's set it as default as level 5 just to practice. There you go. So it's working fine. It's creating loads and loads of those knives. But also we need to say that at the end of this level, we also need to get rid of all the clones. Between each level, we'll just get rid of the clones and then we'll recreate them. So that's nice and easy. What we'll do is we'll say, okay, when we receive next level, which we haven't got yet, so let's call this next level. When we receive next level, what we're going to do is we'll simply delete this clone, which is down here somewhere. There you go, delete this clone. So whenever we receive a message saying next level, just get rid of that clone. Good, so that's pretty much the knives sorted there. That's about ready to rock. Now what we want to do is we want to create ourselves an actual throwing knife. So rather than recreate all of this, because we're going to use a little bit of this later on, let's right click, let's duplicate that sprite. And then what we'll do is we're just going to keep these bits here, because this will all do. We'll keep all that, and we'll keep that forever loop there as well. And let's get rid of all of this here, because we're going to recreate all the rest of it. Just this little bit of code there. Make our life a bit easier. Okay, so now we're going to create the script that says, okay, when I click the mouse button, I want to throw a knife. So let's get started. We only want that to start happening once you've started the game. So we can say, okay, when I receive start game, there we go. What we're going to do is we're going to wait until the mouse isn't down, because of course we'll have just actually be clicking. And when the mouse isn't down, so otherwise you end up throwing a knife instantly by accident. So let's wait until the mouse isn't down, and then we'll start the rest of the script. Good. So we need to get him to point this way. So let's get him pointing up, pointing at 90 degrees. So point in direction 90, so he's ready to point upwards. And for the moment, let's just get him to show, and we'll show. So hopefully now, if we click start, there you go. He's now showing. He's actually in the wrong place. So what we need to say here is, okay, if it is showing, what we also need to do is let's move him down to where he needs to go. So the easiest way to do this is move him to where you need him to be, which is going to be there. And it will automatically have put in the correct coordinates there to move to. There you go, go to, and we'll move him down there. Brilliant. And he's ready to go. So we'll move him down there, we'll get him ready to rock, and then we'll say, okay, we'll keep checking for a mouse press. And if the mouse is pressed, we launch a clone, create a clone, wait until they stop pressing the mouse, and then go back to it and get ready to release another one. So that's nice and easy. Let's put that inside of a forever loop. So forever, if the mouse down, let's have a look. If the mouse is down, we'll create a clone of ourselves. Create a clone of myself, that's good. We'll also hide, because we've got a clone, so otherwise it'll look like there's two knives there. We'll hide, and then we'll wait until the mouse isn't down, and then we'll redo this, go back to the start of the loop to wait until, to keep checking. So wait until the mouse is not down. Wait until not mouse down. And that way it will wait there until you lift off the mouse, and then it will allow you to do that. What we'll also do is we'll put in a little bit of a wait in there of about 0.2 seconds, so you can't keep spamming knives too quickly, which will cause problems for the game. So hide, wait until the mouse is down, wait 0.2 seconds, and then finally we'll show again. Good. Now that hopefully, now if I click start, there you go, and now you can see that it has created lots and lots of clones, which will start moving in a minute. What we'll also do as well is let's just make sure we rename this static knife to throwing knife, otherwise we might get it confused with the other script. So what happens with our clones? Well, it's nice and easy with a clone actually. When we start as a clone, what we're going to do is, just like with this static knife, we need to set his distance and his circle position. But his circle position for these knives is always going to start here at 0. It's not going to start around here because it's going to hit it right at the bottom. So what we say here is, you say, okay, when we start as a clone, we need these. Oops, what am I doing here? Come off those. Set the circle position to 0, so he's right at the bottom of the circle. Set his position to -45, so he's that far away. It's more like the radius really than the position. Again, go back to the back layer so it hits behind the. It's going to wait until it hits behind this this thing here. Go to the back layer. Good stuff. And then it's going to keep moving until keep going up until it touches wood. There we go. So repeat until touching wood. There we are. There you go. Keep repeating until it touches the tree. And all we're going to do is just going to move up. There you go. Brilliant. Oh, not 10 steps. Sorry, it needs to go up. So we're changing the Y coordinates. Change Y by 10. There you go. So now, hopefully, if we click start, if we click, there you go. It keeps going up and it keeps firing through. What we'll also do as well, if you notice there, if I click there and click start, he's showing where it shouldn't be showing. So what we need to say here is, okay, at the start of the game, when the green flag is clicked, let's hide him. And let's get rid of that show in there as well. We don't need that now because this loop will take control of that. So there you go, we click start. And now if we click, there we go, it appears. There we go, and there we go. It will fire away. Actually, what we'll do is we'll put that show back in there, actually. Hang on, where's my show? Otherwise, it's wait until it's not. Ah, there you go. Show. There you go. Let's try that again, shall we? So, hey, that's better. And now if you fire it, it will keep firing through. So, keep going until it touches the tree. That's okay. Good. And then what we do is we do a little thing that now starts to spin it, which is this bit here. There we go. So, yeah, just put that in there, and that hopefully now starts to spin it round. Now it's got a slight issue, it seems to be bending round for some reason, so I'll just have a look at that in a second. But we're just about there, we're not too far away. So let's have a look and see what's wrong there. It looks like the angle is slightly off. So just notice my slight error from before there. That shouldn't be circle position. It took me a minute to work that out. That should be distance. There we go. So that should be circle position. That should be distance, which is why I had that really weird error. If we click start, there you go. Much, much better. There you go. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere near. What I'll also do here as well now is let's change the static knife here. Let's just change the hilt of that knife to a darker colour. Let's go with a kind of a darker brown. There we go. Just so I can tell the difference. And now, there you go. Yeah, the static ones are there, and we can tell which one's static and which is the one that you've thrown. Brilliant. Okay, so we're getting somewhere near. Let's go back to our throwing knife, go back to our code. So we're starting to get somewhere near now. Our game is starting to come somewhere near. So there's two things that could happen here when the knife hits that board. Either it hits it and it doesn't touch anything, in which case you get you get an extra point, or you get the extra knife stuck into that board, or you're touching another knife, in which case it's game over. So how do we know that which is which? Well, it's quite easy to do. The first thing we need to do is we need to create ourselves some more variables. One is called knives, and this is going to keep track of how many knives have been thrown and are stuck to the board. Brilliant. And at the start of the level, then it needs to be set to 0. So what we'll do here is we'll say OK. When I receive start level, so look, when I receive start level, what we'll do is we'll set the number of knives, go to variables, set the knives thrown, there we go, to 0, which is great. And now what we can say is we can say, okay, when it hits that board, which is just here, and it needs to go just in here. When it hits the board, before we start spinning round, we just need to check what's what. So we can say, okay, if it's touching another colour, there we go. If touching colour, and click on there, and click on the silver. There we go. So if we're touching a silver colour, if this knife is touching another silver colour, we then know that it's game over because it's touching another knife. In which case, what we can do is we can broadcast game over. So we'll just broadcast game over. Broadcast game over. New message. Game over. And if it's not touching it, then we know it's all good to go. In that case, what we'll do is we'll increase the number of knives by 1. So variables, knives. Otherwise, change the number of knives by 1. Brilliant. There you go. Great. Good. There you go. Great. Sorted. Now, if we have changed the knives by 1 here, what we also need to do here is we need to check that we haven't got check to see if we've gone over 10 knives. And if we have gone over 10 knives, then we go on to the next level. So we do another if statement and put that in there inside your change knives by 1. If the number of knives is if the number of knives is greater than 9, then we broadcast next level. So where's my next level? Brilliant, there you go. Broadcast next level, and that will go on to the next level. There you go. So next level, what's going to happen? Well, that's quite simple. When I receive next level, all we need to do is delete all of the clones here that we've been created that are stuck around the edge of there. So delete all clones, or delete this clone. There you go. So when I receive next level, delete this clone. Have I done the same on there? There you go. When I receive next level, delete this clone. So let's see how that goes. Let's see if that works. So fire it there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Whoops. 10. There you go. And it goes through the next level. So that's all done there. Once you receive next level, so let's do that. Start game. What we'll do here, we'll get the tree to control this. When we receive the next level, what we'll just do there is we'll just wait a small amount of time so that everybody's ready. 0.1 seconds, and the tree can sort this. When I receive next level, we will start the level. And that should then start level number 3. Let's find out. So one small problem. We're still stuck on level number 1. And the reason is that here in the throwing knife, when we broadcast next level, what we didn't do is we didn't change the level by 1. So hopefully now, let's have a look. We throw all our knives. 7, 8, 9. Oh, there you go. And now we're on to level 2, and we've got 2 spinning knives instead of 1. Good. Okay, so let's just stop that. There you go. So what do we do now if we get game over? Well, that's nice and simple. Go to the throwing knife. We broadcast game over, which is fine. Now, if we broadcast game over, should we allow that to spin? Yes, that can spin. That's fine. What we need to do now is we just need to get the big broad game over text appearing on screen. So what I'll do now is I'll just hide the number of knives because we don't need that. Let's go back up to static knife here, and let's just go back to our variables. Let's hide those 2 because we don't need to see those. That's looking a bit prettier, isn't it? And what we'll do here is we'll paint a new sprite. We'll use some text, and we'll do some, let's go fully bright, fully saturated, so some white text, and we'll just say game over. We'll make that nice and big. Game over. Brilliant. Put that right in the center. Game factory. Let's do it game over. There you go. Nice big. Game over. Right across the center of the screen. That'll do. Just move that there. Game over. And that'll do there. Game over. What we'll do as well now, a nice little thing, if you click on there, click on copy, click on paste, and then move it to one side, and then change the fill. There we go. Now what you've got is you can either have black text with the white behind it, or if you send the black text back, you've got white text with a kind of a black shadow, whichever one you prefer. A big game over sign, and the code for the game over sign is nice and simple. At the start of the game, when start clicked, we'll hide. And when I receive game over, we will show. So let's see if that works. Firing through, let's see if I can hit a knife. There we go. Oh, game over, there we go. So no, I didn't touch that. Let's just try that again. Let's make sure it's working right. Just debug it. Yes, game over. So that's perfect. It says game over. Good. We'll just stop that there. So that's all pretty much done now. We're not far off. All we need to do now is go to our throwing knife, and we need to add some sounds. So every time that we hit it, it needs to go dunk. And every time, so let's have a look. We could do a pop, can we? I'm going to do a pop. Let's have a look. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go choose a sound. Oops, loads of those. Let's go from the one I used before. Was it muted conga? If you go to effects, and I used where is it? Muted conga. That's the one there. Oh, that sounds quite cool, isn't it? Low conga. Let's do that one. That's brilliant. There you go. So that's low conga. Good code. So every time it hits, which is this one here, change knives by 1. Let's go to sound, and we'll play that sound. Start sound. Change knives by 1. There you go. So now if we start it, yep, not pop though. It needs to be low conga. Brilliant. Every time it hits it, it does that. Then what we can do is we'll do the wind sounds. Let's add some more sounds. There you go. Choose a sound. What's that wind sound? There we go. There's the wind sound. do that one. Don't really like that one, but we could do it. So we've got our wind sound. Let's add that when we go to the next level. Start sound. Oh, next level. That's the wind. Good, that'll do there. Which was the other ones I used? Dun 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 and boom. What's that one? Boom. Oh. Dun dun dun. That'll do. The dun dun dun. Okay. So let's add our last sound. Oh. Dun 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 dun. Whoops. Dun dun. There you go. That's for game over. So what we can say here is, we'll do it on the game over sprite actually. When I receive game over, oh no, I can't do it because I've just put on the other sprite. Let's go back. Let's do it on this one. Where's my game over? There it is. Sound. Dun dun dun. There we go. So now what we got is, there you go. Good, perfect. So there's your game pretty much done. Let's just check it's fully working. Ooh, getting there. Ah! Let's just try it to get it working. Hey, brilliant. I've actually made that really hard because the knives are really big. But there you go. So there's your game fully working. A little bit longer than most of the tutorials, this one. A little bit more complicated. There's quite a bit happening. But hopefully it should be okay to follow. If you've got any comments or any suggestions, please let me know. If you did like the tutorial, please like the video and then feel free to subscribe to my channel. If you've got any questions or you need any help, just put a comment on the video and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you very much and I hope you enjoyed it.